Welcome to another edition of the J&J Sports Express for week 17 of the 2024 NFL season. A little early this week. I'm your co-host, Jeff Cadillac, of course, with my partner in crime, JB Ellis. JB, how you doing this week?
Doing good. Christmas edition. We got Christmas Day games.
I
So
know, early
confusing.
early Wednesday games. I mean, that's why we're on early this week, and hopefully people catch us. And a lot of games this week going to be, depending on have playoff implications. Some teams just playing to, finish out the string and keep some jobs, but a lot of games on the schedule that a lot of people are going to be looking at. A lot of teams involved. A lot of teams want to get forward, but let's get right to it. We got Wednesday games going right away, so we're going to start off. The first game, of course, Kansas City at the Steelers. Kansas City, as usual, the favorite. Steelers at home. Who do you like in this game, JB?
So the Steelers had a huge loss to Baltimore. Russell Wilson had a huge fumble and a scramble, which would have tied the game early on. Steelers never got back into it after that. Um, Chiefs do what they do. They won last week. Big win. They're on the road this week, but this is a huge game. They win this game and they get the one seed. We go through Kansas City. I think they're going to lock it up. And the Steelers are in a little bit of trouble because the next game we're going to talk about could determine their division. But I got to go with Mahomes. He looked good last week, even being hurt. That was the game I figured that they would lose. But I think after winning that game, I think they're going to roll straight into the playoffs and beat the Steelers here at 2.5. I think they'll win by a field goal.
I tell you something. I like the Chiefs in this game. I mentioned last week in my analysis that Hollywood Brown coming back for the Chiefs was big, and he did have 5 catches. I like Hollywood Brown a lot. I like DeAndre Hopkins. I like the fact that, even Travis Kelce, we all know he's lost a step and everything. But, when Mahomes throws him the ball, he catches it. He's money, and that's something big. Steelers last week, Russell Wilson, he blew that game against, Baltimore single-handedly. He fumbled the ball on the 3-yard line. He threw a pick six. I mean, he took Pittsburgh out of that game single-handedly. Russell Wilson is not the player he once was, and, he's made some mistakes in big games that, of course, this team's, wins and losses, and that's a problem. And Steelers are a little bit on the defeated side because I really liked the Steelers last week +6, and I thought that they would at least keep it close. And they got, they ended up getting blown out because after the pick six, that was like the dagger in the heart, and they just kind of gave up after that. That was like, we're done, just let us leave and don't kill us too much with the score. I gotta like the Chiefs here. Chiefs are looking right, as you said, the number 1 seed. They still have something to play for. They get the number 1 seed, they can take the next week off and take another week off for the first week of the playoffs. So I got to go with you here. I like the Chiefs -2.5 at Pittsburgh.
All right, so next we have the Ravens -3 against the Texans. Texans huge loss with Tank Dell getting carted off the field after a touchdown. Hurt his knee pretty badly. Ravens, we just spoke about, big win over the Steelers last week. I'm going to stay with the momentum here. I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens go on the road and do what they do. They're a team that seems to play well in the regular season when it matters. We're not talking playoffs. We'll get to that in a few weeks, but we're still in the regular season. And the Texans are, between being injured and not playing their best football, the combination of both are in a little bit of a trouble here. I mean, they should win their division easily. And, they're fortunate that they play in the AFC South where it's not much competition. But now they're stepping up against a really good Ravens team with Lamar, who, they want to win their division and they have a chance to take a game lead over the Steelers if the Steelers lose. And if the Steelers win, they have to keep pace. So, I mean, I think this is a no-brainer with the Ravens.
Yeah, I like the Ravens. This spread has increased since we've posted it, and I actually analyzed this game at 3. It's moved up to a bigger spread, but I like the Ravens in this game. They look fresh off the win against Pittsburgh. They really took it to Pittsburgh. The defense stepped up. The Texans, again, C.J. Stroud and company are not the same as they were last season. Also, it has to do with the fact that they had a tougher schedule this year. Nobody expected them to play well last year. He surprised everybody. This year, tougher schedule, tougher competition. Hey, you got to be on every week, and you got to take your game to the next level. Even with the addition of Joe Mixon, who's been very reliable. And, that's something the Texans really didn't have behind him or, for a while. C.J. Stroud has kind of taken a step back. And I got to tell you, I don't like the Texans against the Ravens. I like the Ravens to really roll right over to Houston. Baltimore has something to play for. And remember, Baltimore has a chip on their shoulder as they get to the playoffs. They lost in the championship game at home against Kansas City. So, that's a goal for them. That's something that I'm sure John Harbaugh says every week. We got to get to that point and then some. But I got to agree with you here. I like the Ravens rolling over the Texans. I think they win by 10 to 14 points in this game. No sound.
I said I can't disagree with you much on that. We agree on 2 for 2. Thursday night, I'm confused at why the spread is so low. I'm guessing it's because the Seahawks haven't looked very good recently. But, I mean, the Bears, to me, are a dead team. Their coaching staff is horrible. Their offensive line could put me, you, and 3 guys off the street and get the same production out of. Seahawks, yeah, they haven't looked great, but, I'm imagining them to get 3 or 4 sacks easily in this game and put a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. The issue with the Bears is everything. You start from the top. The GM has done a horrible job knowing that their offensive line was terrible to begin with. They brought in wide receivers, drafted Caleb with the number 1 pick, and then brought in Odunze as a receiver in the top 10, which is great. It's great to have all the skill positions filled, but if you can't block for them, you just can't win. And, the Seahawks, although they're not a great team, and they are slumping a little bit down the stretch, I can't see how anyone can't beat the Bears at this point. They're just not put together well. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I got to tell you something. Seattle played very tough against Minnesota last week. I give them a lot of credit. I figured Minnesota was going to roll over Seattle. They didn't. They were up 17-7 in the game. Minnesota, Seattle still came back. Russell Wilson. Geno Smith threw that interception at the end. It looked like miscommunication between him and DK Metcalf, but they played a pretty good game. And I like Walker in this game. The Bears, like you said, I've been stressing this the whole season. Caleb Williams, quarterback of the Bears, has been sacked 60 times. It's insane for me to say that, but 60 times. He leads the NFL. There is no way your quarterback can get anything done when he's under pressure every single play. It's unbelievable. Right. Seattle, they just, unbelievable, very bad. I don't like what they did. Seattle played very well against Minnesota. Let me retract that. The Bears, there's no competition here. The Bears didn't even put up much of a fight last week against Detroit at home. I mean, that season, that team is just not playing well. The offensive line is a tragedy. I've been saying that all season long. And when you don't have an offensive line, I don't care if you have Moses behind you as a quarterback. It's just not going to happen. The Seahawks, by the way, are still playing for something. They are still playing for the NFC West. So in retrospect here, they need this game. They need this game big just to be in the conversation. Kenneth Walker, he's going to be running for 120 yards, 130 yards in this game. He didn't run for a lot against Minnesota because Minnesota had the number 2 defense against the rush. But I like Seattle big in this game. I think they win by 14 points over the Bears as well.
Wow, 3 for 3. Let's go on to Sunday action. We got the Broncos headed to Cincinnati to face the Bengals -3. You want to start with this one?
Yes. Joe Burrow, let me tell you something. He plays to win every single game. There's no problem here. The Broncos defense as of late has been terrible. I don't know what happened to them. They were a very cohesive group. They were playing well. They lost against the Chargers on Thursday night. They didn't look good. They were up in that game 24-13. And then what happens? The defense goes to sleep and they lose the game 34-27. It was very bad. You know, Bo Nix was playing well, but the defense didn't show up. And that's a problem. The Bengals, how are they, the Broncos, how are they going to play against Joe Burrow, who still has his mathematically still in it for the playoffs? Joe Burrow is playing every game like it's his last game. So, I mean, with his weapons, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I mean, it goes on and on and on. This could be a possible shootout. And I like the Bengals big in this game. I like them to win. I hate to say that, the Broncos right now are going a little south because they're not used to winning. They've been losing for a while, and the problem is they're not used to winning. And this is what happens when you have a very young team later in the season. They're not used to winning. Broncos still have a shot at the playoffs. They're still playing, but I like the Bengals to win this game by, say, 7.
So this is going to be one of the first time we disagree this week. I mean, I think Bo Nix is going to have his way with the Bengals secondary. I do agree it's going to be a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of points on the board. But I think Sean Payton, being the better coach, somehow pulls out a victory and getting the 3 points. I think it'll help us here, taking the Broncos. Definitely see it being a shootout. Chase and Burrow can put up points in a hurry. Every once in a while, he throws to T. Higgins. Got to watch out for him for his 2 catches a week. I don't know why they don't use T much more. But I do think that, like you said, the Broncos defense has been in decline. So I definitely see it as a shootout because the Bengals defense, we all know, is suspect. Joe Burrow does a great job keeping his team in the game. Both teams are still playing for a little something. The Broncos have a better chance than the Bengals, but I just see Bo Nix showing why he should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, even though he's not going to win it. I think the Broncos here cover and possibly sneak out a small victory in a shootout, an exciting game to watch.
I think it's going to be, I have to agree with you. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a shootout. Bo Nix is going to have a good game, but the Broncos defense is going to be giving up a lot. And that's where I think the Bengals are going to win, especially at home.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So the last game of the week we have here, we got the Arizona Cardinals traveling up to SoFi to take on the Rams. The Rams are -6. I'll start with this one. The Rams are a team on a mission all of a sudden. They were at the beginning of the year, nobody was talking about the Rams. We were just saying how McVay is a horrible coach. They're not going to do anything. 49ers were going to win this division easily. Forget about the Rams. Then the 49ers stunk. They got the injury bug and couldn't do anything. Then the Seahawks took the lead of the division. And we were saying, oh, it's going to be Seattle's year because the Rams still stunk. Then the Cardinals started winning games by a field goal at home and on the road. So still nobody was talking about the Rams. And over the last few weeks, the Rams put together a season and he took the lead in the division. Nakua is back. Cooper Kupp is back, who they talked about trading at the trade deadline. The Cardinals have cooled off. The Seahawks haven't played as well. And the 49ers are still playing horrible. So guess whose division it is to win? And this game is going to be huge for them. The Rams. The Rams are playing like they care about football. A team that nobody expected to do anything. Stafford has done what Stafford does. They did a really good job with getting Williams in the backfield. And Kupp and Nakua have been great. I think the Rams would cover this game and show the Cardinals that they're not a team that's respectable just yet. Kyler Murray, although he's had a good year for him, his team is not where it should be. Harrison Jr. hasn't stepped up and been the player that they were hoping to get when they got him in the first round. And I think the Rams would cover this by a 10-point victory.
I could see the Rams still have something to play for, and the Cardinals got eliminated from the playoffs as of last week with the loss. Cardinals have a lot to build on. James Conner, he's a beast. Whether he plays or not this week, that's still up in the air. He got injured versus Carolina last week, in that loss. We'll see what happens. But he is definitely a beast, and he gives Kyler Murray added weapons so that Kyler Murray doesn't have to win the game by himself. There's a lot of things that Arizona still needs. They need a secondary. Budda Baker can't do it all by himself. They don't have really a pass rush that they need help with, and teams seem to be able to run on Arizona at will. Excuse me. The Rams, you're right. Their season has been turned around. Nobody counted the Rams in at the beginning of the season. Everybody was touting San Francisco. San Francisco got injuries. They're on their fifth running back right now. A lot of problems over there with guys also that are getting big contracts and not stepping up. So there's a bad combination in San Francisco. They really have to sort that out in the offseason. A lot of, positions there. So they're going to have to take care of that. Then you got the Rams. They're in it to win it. It's their division if they keep winning. So they need to keep winning to stay in the playoffs. They're still battling against Seattle, and they need to really kind of just, play the game to win. And knowing Sean McVay, he's going to play the game. He's going to win. And I think the Rams are going to win this game because Carolina really has nothing to play for. So we'll see what's what. And I got to agree with you here. I think the Rams win by 7 to 10 points at least in this game at home. We temporarily lost JB, but I can tell you right now, we're looking at there he is. I said I agree with you with the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win by between 7 and 10 points. A bonus game that we were looking at that we're going to definitely discuss is Green Bay +1 at Minnesota. Now, this is a game that definitely has implications in the NFC North. It has implications in the whole NFC, if you really want to talk about it, because Minnesota is tied with Detroit for the best record. Philly all of a sudden lost against Washington. You got, Green Bay. Monday night, they destroyed the Saints. I knew, I had a feeling that Green Bay was going to blow them out. I mean, the spread was 14, so you knew either they were really going to blow them out or somehow New Orleans was going to show up and give it a game. But New Orleans, look, they had a second-string quarterback. They got they got nothing to play for. There's a lot of problems in New Orleans. But Green Bay, I mean, this is a tough game because Minnesota beat Green Bay earlier in the season. So there might be some payback here. This is a really tough one to figure out. I mean, I figured if the spread was 3, I'd take Green Bay +3 in 2 seconds. But, Minnesota at home, I got to lean Minnesota because they got something to play for too. They have to bring their A game. Both teams are going to be bringing their A game, and turnovers in this game are going to be huge. It's going to be the implications of a turnover. They're going to be shaking their head, and that's going to be the game right there. And I think Minnesota at home has the edge, and I think they win this game outright. I like Minnesota, lay the point. It's basically a pick 'em game almost, but I like Minnesota to win this game and stay in the running with Detroit for the number 1 seed.
So, I mean, the key to this game is obviously Daniel Jones on the practice squad. Him talking to Sam Darnold and coaching him up, that's been the key to the Minnesota season. I'm just playing. I mean, obviously, Daniel Jones has nothing to do with the Vikings' success. He actually did the smartest thing in the world going to Minnesota. Seeing the transformation of Sam Darnold, maybe he could have some sort of that transformation in the future
Maybe
and
not.
be a viable quarterback for a team in the future. But, that being said, Minnesota's had a phenomenal season, as had Green Bay. Both teams have records that nobody expected them to have. I do see this being a great game. Jordan Love has done a hell of a job as the starter in Green Bay, especially after his first year when he started a couple of games when Rodgers got hurt 2 years ago, and nobody gave him the respect he deserved, realizing just getting thrown in as a starter as opposed to preparing all off season as a starter is a completely different thing. And he's done nothing but show what talent he has. And Matt LaFleur is a hell of a coach for what he's done, getting Jordan Love ready, and even keeping the Packers ready when they had Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers would disrupt the whole team chemistry. That being said, with the great season they've had, the even better season has been had in Minnesota because there was nobody at the beginning of the year that would have told you that these Minnesota Vikings would be tied with the Detroit Lions for the number one seed with 3 games remaining. Not you, not me, not anybody. And they're playing at home. They got Aaron Jones in at running back, which was a great pickup from the Green Bay Packers. Packers did pretty well though too. They got their guy Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. So neither team disappointed with their what they have at running back. At quarterback, it's a little surprising in Minnesota. We got Sam Darnold, who came in because J.J. McCarthy hurt his knee. Did anyone think Sam Darnold would be doing this? No. He's had a transformation year, and he's got some great receivers, Justin Jefferson and Addison. The line does nothing but block. They got their tight end back, which definitely helps. He's had a couple of really good games and it looks better each week. The defense is, I believe, number 2 against the rush. So Jacobs is going to have a hard time running. They're at home and their secondary is pretty good as well. I see Minnesota winning. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fun game, but it's a damn important game coming towards the end of the season because the Vikings end up their season playing Detroit. And if they're both tied, that game is for the 1 seed or a wild card. So let's hope we can get a Minnesota victory so we have some drama the last week of the year. But I think we're going to see one anyway.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Minnesota, like I've always said, the number 2 against the rush. Jordan Love might have to do it more on his own if they stop that run cold. And Green Bay's going to try to run the ball. So it's going to be a good game, but I like Minnesota winning maybe by a field goal.
Wow. So the only game we disagreed with was the Broncos-Bengals. Interesting. So where can people find you?
Find me at jeffcadillac.com. I have a number of the games that are up already this week. Of course, the Wednesday game, the Thursday game, they're already posted. The rest of the games will be up the rest of the week. You can find me on Twitter at JeffCadillac1. The best bet of the week has been getting hammered the last few weeks. Certain teams just have been showing up. Philly last week losing against Washington. Jalen Hurts did go down. Didn't expect that. Jalen Hurts stays in the game. They blow out Washington. You can meet every week with you on Twitter with the J&J Sports Express. And so far, so good. So can't complain. Those are the places you can find me. Where can we find you, JB?
JB_ the program on X. Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. We'll be back after the new year. Also, the Daily Dose of JB, your little daily minute with me every day. What could be better than having a minute with me every day? Nothing. Ask my wife; she'll tell you. But everyone have a Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy. You got some football, you got basketball, you got college bowl games.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Yes, Happy Hanukkah as well.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy whatever you celebrate. Enjoy it. Hopefully you get to spend some time with family and friends and have a happy new year. We'll see you next week. Anything else, Jeff?
That's it. Everybody enjoy the games. A lot of football this week. Enjoy the games. Bet with your head, not over it.
Enjoy, guys.